Paul McCartney was strolling along the busy streets of London on a bright, clear afternoon, the kind of day that practically begs you to slow down and enjoy life. Wearing his signature flat cap, the legendary musician was looking for a relaxing lunch after a hectic morning of rehearsals and interviews. He decided to stop by the Crown, a posh little restaurant known for its upscale vibe and refined cuisine, a favorite among artists, business leaders, and those in search of a unique dining experience. Upon arriving, a friendly hostess greeted him warmly and escorted him to a quiet table in a cozy corner. The place had a welcoming atmosphere, with soft background chatter, the gentle clinking of cutlery, and warm, ambient lighting setting the perfect mood. Paul settled in, perused the menu, and began contemplating what to order. It all seemed like a typical day until his choice to wear his flat cap turned into the spark of an unexpected confrontation that would soon grab the attention of everyone in the restaurant, and later, the entire city. A middle-aged manager, looking both composed and firm, approached his table. He explained that the restaurant enforced a strict dress code to maintain a politically neutral atmosphere, and he politely asked Paul to remove his cap. Although the rule sounded straightforward, it carried a heavier implication: the challenge of balancing personal expression with the restaurant's commitment to neutrality. Surprised yet composed, Paul calmly questioned the policy, wanting to understand the reasoning behind it. The manager pointed to a neatly framed copy of the establishment's dress code posted on the wall. As curious glances from other diners fell upon them, Paul realized he had two options: either comply with the rule or leave the restaurant. With a dignified air and without causing a scene, he gathered his things and quietly left the restaurant, a silent act that, in itself, spoke volumes. Outside, Paul adjusted his cap, gazed at the London sky, and took a deep breath. It wasn't anger that stirred within him, but rather a twinge of frustration, not so much about the cap itself, but about how rules can sometimes be applied in ways that divide rather than unite people. Finding a bench in a nearby park, he sat down, pulled out his smartphone, and started sending texts to a few friends. He wasn't looking for complaints or sympathy. He simply wanted to know if he'd been stubborn for insisting on wearing his cap, or if the manager had taken the rule too far. As he waited for replies, a new idea began to form in his mind. Paul wasn't interested in seeking revenge or turning the incident into another polarizing debate. The world was already split enough. Instead, he thought of doing something bigger, an event that could bring people together. He decided to transform the incident into a catalyst for dialogue, understanding, and empathy. Meanwhile, back at the Crown, the situation was unfolding. The manager, who had initially been confident in his decision, started to sense the impact of his actions. Some diners openly questioned his approach, while others exchanged quiet remarks as they watched the scene unfold. The earlier tense silence gradually gave way to a low murmur. Far from the restaurant, Paul was already taking steps. He made a few phone calls, jotted down ideas in a small notebook, and began planning an event that would convert this moment of tension into a positive movement. It wasn't about proving who was right or wrong. It was about creating a space where people with different views could meet, listen to one another, and understand each other better. As he reviewed his notes, he resolved that the event would be an opportunity to show that it's possible to build bridges even amid disagreements. This wouldn't just be a charity drive. It was meant to be a celebration of unity and a testament to the power of dialogue over conflict. Inside the Crown, the manager was starting to feel that his decision to confront Paul might have consequences extending well beyond the restaurant's walls. The story was quickly making its rounds on social media, sparking intense reactions. Some people supported the restaurant's stance on neutrality, while others backed Paul and criticized the manager's rigid enforcement of the rule. The restaurant's name began popping up online, often in a less than favorable light. Even as Paul continued with his plans, determined to turn a negative experience into a valuable lesson for everyone. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was convinced it was a risk worth taking. The next morning, outside the Crown, the scene was already buzzing with activity. Delivery vans were unloading equipment. Volunteers were setting up tents, tables, and a small stage in a public square right near the restaurant. The very spot that had been the stage for yesterday's awkward moment was now transforming into a venue for celebration. Paul arrived early, overseeing every detail with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly what he wanted to achieve. Hanging above the stage was a large banner that read, "Together we are stronger," a clear, powerful message that couldn't be ignored. Organized in record time, the event was more than just a response to the incident. It was a heartfelt invitation to reflect on the importance of unity. Various community groups were invited to take part, from local youth clubs to organizations dedicated to fostering conversation between different perspectives. As the London morning turned into afternoon, the public square began to fill with people. Food trucks lined the sidewalks. The sound of musicians tuning their instruments echoed in the air, and slowly, curious onlookers started arriving to see what was happening. Families, young adults, seniors, and even a few social media influencers gathered, all drawn in by an infectious energy that made everyone feel like they were part of something special. Around midday, the square was buzzing with energy. Paul took the stage with a calm smile, though his eyes showed a serious determination. Grabbing the microphone, he began to speak in a firm yet heartfelt tone. "Yesterday, I was asked to leave a restaurant because I was wearing my cap. I respect rules, even if I don't always agree with them. But what struck me wasn't the fact that I was turned away. It was how quickly we jumped to judgment and let differences divide us." A respectful silence fell over the crowd as his words resonated. "We can do better," he continued. "This event isn't about me or the restaurant. It's about learning to listen to one another, understanding each other, and coming together even when we disagree." The applause that followed was warm and enthusiastic, as if every person there was rethinking their own role in a divided society. Though his speech was brief, it planted a powerful seed in the hearts and minds of everyone present. As the event carried on with live music, interactive workshops, and relaxed conversations, an unexpected moment occurred. The manager from The Crown, who had been watching the celebration from a distance, paused and took a moment to observe. In just a few seconds, all eyes turned toward him. Noticing the attention, Paul, who was chatting with a small group near the stage, walked over with a welcoming smile and extended his hand. "Can we talk?" he asked in a calm, sincere tone. The manager nodded, and together they stepped aside into a quieter corner. In that intimate setting, the atmosphere was charged with meaning. The manager took a deep breath and began, "I have to admit, I didn't handle things well yesterday. I thought I was protecting the restaurant's image, but I ended up acting too rigidly, maybe even out of fear, and I judged you without trying to understand. I'm sorry." Paul listened attentively, without interrupting. When the manager finished, Paul responded with a gentle smile. "Admitting a mistake takes real courage. Thank you for that. What happened yesterday was a challenge, but it also gave us a chance to learn." The manager appeared visibly relieved and moved by Paul's words, adding, "Seeing what you did today made me realize how wrong I was. You could have reacted in many different ways, but you chose to build something positive. That taught me an important lesson." Paul replied firmly, "The world is already divided enough. What happened yesterday could have deepened those divisions, but I chose to show that there's always a better path. Rules matter, but they should never come at the expense of kindness and understanding." Under the watchful eyes of everyone gathered, the two shook hands, a gesture met with enthusiastic applause and warm smiles. It wasn't just about settling a personal conflict. It was a powerful symbol that differences can be overcome to create something greater. The event continued well into the late afternoon, leaving everyone with a shared sense of accomplishment. The money raised that day was set to support projects promoting dialogue and inclusion in underprivileged communities. But the real impact of the day went far beyond the financials. It served as a reminder that even in the most challenging moments, there's always an opportunity to turn conflicts into chances for positive change. As the tents were taken down and the last people began to leave, Paul looked around the square and felt a deep sense of purpose. He knew that the incident at the Crown would never be remembered simply as a dispute over a cap. It was about the choices we make when faced with tough moments, and that day, The choice to unite had truly prevailed.